Okay, so in this video what we're going to talk about is different types of changes that occur to these graphs, these trig functions. We have a horizontal shift, a vertical shift. Amplitude, as you can see here, is like altitude or height, and a reflection. Now, we've talked about these with parabolas, where we would take a parabola and we would maybe, take the vertex and move it this way, right? And then we'd have this new picture where the parabola would shift like this. And we'd identify those transformations and translations, and then we would have a new equation. And we're going to do the same thing with our trig functions. Okay, so this first one, once again, it's a little bit of a discover. What I'd like for you to do is to go through and notice once again, all we're really working with is our 4 points around our unit circle, the 0, the 90, the 180, the 270, and 360. We technically only need to use these to graph our trig functions. Technically what's happening though is we find all the values of 0 degrees, 1 degrees, 2 degrees, so on and so forth, and get those values. It's not necessary, because with just these 4 or 5 points we can trace the shape of the graph and any type of changes that are going to occur with it. So what I'd like for you to do again is pause the video and go through, get the values, and try and draw the picture. Okay, so I got my work here on the right hand side, and I'm going to go ahead and fill in all my values. Basically, as I just took 2 times whatever the trig value was, 2 times whatever the trig value was, which was 1, and I'm getting 0, 2, 0, negative 2, 0. So I plug these values in, and I get 0, 2, 0, negative 2, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and change this real quick. Let me move these. We're pretty much lined up. And I want to straighten this out a little bit. Okay, so this didn't work as well as I had planned. Now it's locked. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plot all these points. So at 0 we're still 0. At 90 we're now at 2. I'm going to call this guy 1 and this guy 2. This guy's negative 1 and this guy's 2. So I'm just identifying the scale. Every 2 units is going to be, every 2 tick marks is 1 unit. At 90 degrees we're at 2. At 180 we're at 0. And we'll notice that at 270 we're at negative 2. And at 360 we're at 0. So this point right here is 0 degrees, 0. But at this point we're at 90 degrees, two. At this point we're at 180 degrees, 0. That didn't change, and notice we got this number that's in front, so it looks like we're getting a little bit bigger here vertically. This one's 270 degrees, negative 2, and this one is 360, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trace my graph. Okay, we have this up and down smooth curve. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in here in blue, if that if that 2 wasn't there, this is what our graph would look like. So what happened to our graph? It looks as if what we're doing is we're taking this graph and we're stretching it further than the blue graph. And so what happened is we have a vertical stretch. Okay, so anytime we got a number in front, it's going to stretch vertically. So then what we'll do in the next videos, we'll do a couple extra examples, but this is what happens when we put numbers outside of the trig function. We'll do a couple other changes that we'll go through, and you're going to have to graph these without a calculator, and you're going to go through the same exact process. And looking at these values is sometimes the best way to do it when you're first introduced to it. Once you become a pro at it, you can pretty much throw them down and they're pretty quick.